On air. We're on air.
Mm-hmm. All right. Good morning, everyone. This is Anand Biradar. I'm SEDS USA Chapter Expansion Manager. Today I'm representing SEDS USA, and soon my colleague Gautham Viswaroopan, who is a Council of Chapter Chair at SEDS USA, will be joining us. And we are here to share some of the amazing activities that we have done so far at SEDS USA, with the sole aim of helping students who are interested in space, providing them as many resources as possible, and try to do as many things towards space exploration. We have been able to implement a lot of programs, projects, funding opportunities for students at various universities, and that has been reflected very well during their school or even post. And with generous donations from our alumni, some of the industry leaders, some of the new space companies, old space companies, we have a lot of we still have a lot of roots to our past, people who are still involved. Every year we've been trying a lot of new things and leaving out some of the older initiatives in an account to apply some new ones. I will be today, rather than going discussing about a specific topic, I would like to talk very briefly about our past, some of the previous projects, and some of the current opportunities at SEDS USA, some of the current projects, and later how we are involving more locally and still keeping strong alumni connections, and our this year's big push towards helping out international community to start chapters to share our projects, our insights, so that they can get benefited from. And I'll share more detailed updates later. So let's get started. So as we all know, SEDS was founded in 1980, and since then it has been started as a chapter format at different universities, and in past, based on some of the universities, we've been able to do a lot of projects, and we've been, since space is all, the product looks like an engineering marvel always, which fascinates to everyone. It started in various ways as rocketry projects, which is still strong at SEDS USA. We have, every year we've been conducting high power rocketry competitions, pushing the limits, how far you can launch into ceilings, 10,000 minimum every year. And as a reflection, this we've seen students participating in this competition as a stepping stone to more complex and more bigger format competitions, such as NASA SLP, and some of the local challenges from NAR and Tripoli. where you basically have to launch much more than 10,000 feet, and also do crazy fun things such as triggering payload, um, uh, maybe uh, launching a robot off of that and letting it land with the help of parachute or following a particular trajectory. So all those things, and um, that's just rocketry. But and we got involved in CubeSat projects, a lot of satellite projects, and locally there are various universities who um, are building smaller CubeSats, and with the help of SEDS and as well as their own connections through professors and via NASA, they were able to get launch opportunities, and we've been consistently seeing those chapters um, and people who are involved. They were fortunate enough to launch their satellites, um, and we one of the very exciting new things, an example of alumni giving back to community. He's one of our famous alumni who has helped launch Space Vision, and uh, who has helped streamline Space Vision organizing. And it might be unfair for me to just name few, but since this is a recent update, Astranis, from Astranis, they offered SEDS USA to launch a small satellite. So we have launched a competition at SEDS USA, and open to all chapters. For now, unfortunately, it's only in USA. As we all know, a big elephant in the room, ITAR, we can't allow international involvement in some of the technologies in USA. But we're trying to get involved as much as possible. So this competition will be launched prior to Space Vision, and various universities can submit their proposals, and all the details haven't been hashed out yet, but we have confirmed the opportunity from Astranis. So coming from past, we've been heavily leaned towards engineering, and we all know space is not an engineering, although it is a very crucial factor. There are various things have to fall through and come together, such as space policy, space law, and outreach. All this has to come through, and also efforts to involve people from various backgrounds. And so one of our efforts is diversifying, where we have chapters in terms of racial diversity, in terms of gender diversity, and also helping out people who can't afford to do launches via scholarships and special funding opportunities. And yes, SEDS USA is able to provide resources to actually make a push in this area as well. I personally am involved, reaching out to HBCUs in US. That means is historically Black colleges and universities. So, and we been seen. We have been we a lot of chapters from such backgrounds have joined in last year and prior to that, and even we were able to diversify our board. We also have awards for exactly same thing. So that's been one of the pushes. And on the policy and outreach, one of the very impactful thing we've been doing every year is we have something called March to Washington. So we visit our space policymakers, every year in March, in the month of March, and from there is a delegation from SEDS USA being sent every year with some of the policies that SEDS want to support, and they visit senators from their state and space policymakers in Washington, D.C. To push for some of the agenda that we have on the student side, on the technical side, and on current ongoing project. On outreach program, we have been very successful in past coming years. We got involved a lot in high schools and local chapters, and smaller and fun activities such as water bottle rocket launches, or paper planes and all, trying to generate more interest in aerospace in general, and more specifically toward space. We've been able to reach out to local schools, and we got a lot of support from chapters who have dedicated their weekly meetings just to local school outreach. And as a reflection of that, we have seen last 2 years interest from schools, like everyone, like, hey, we want to launch SEDS chapters, SEDS chapter we want to launch. And then as we do a lot of risky things like rocketry and everything, so getting involved, students who are under 18 has to follow some of the legalities. So, and also at SEDS National, we want to focus a lot on university, but we do know high school students from high school and middle school are assets who are future participants in undergrad programs who would be becoming future SEDS chapter members. So what we've been doing currently is we, whenever high school chapters reaches out to us, we connect them with the local chapter and local university chapter, get to know what high school chapter wants, and make sure they follow all the legality, make sure they get necessary permissions from parents, from school, make sure they have advisors in school, and we directly are talking to them, and we connect them to local university chapters. And we do know how this is all student life, so everyone is busy with schools, a lot of activities, but it's exciting. A lot of students volunteer to help out SEDS National as well as their local chapters, and they are very passionate about helping students so they express interest mentoring the schools. So that has been working out great. We do get a lot of feedback as well on all of our newer activities. And along this, in recent years, we restructured our national board. So we have fully functional board, which is largely represented by current active students. And on parallel, we have staff members who are SEDS alumni currently working in industry, such as myself, who have various ideas and would want to help SEDS USA by doing various projects. So we created various initiatives where if board doesn't have time, or if they want to reach out to people who have background in those projects, then we create a staff position and let them lead those activities. Alongside this, We also expanded board of advisors. So we have been fortunate to join various industry leaders. You can see the list of advisors on SEDS.org, and you can see people from new space startups, people who are traditional aerospace companies have joined, and we talk to them frequently. We get feedback about our current projects, and they are the ones who are one of our major source of contacts back to industry, for getting funding, for making bigger donation happen, which is one of the flagship donations. And again, by naming one, I, I don't want to sideline other donations. Every penny counts towards SEDS USA. But recently, Jeff Bezos, who was SEDS Princeton president when he was in school, donated his prize 2 years ago, and that was big help to SEDS USA. We been we've been using those funds very well, channeling to various scholarships. So one of the so these are things we are largely sharing, because in international community we see some of the chapters which are, or some of the SEDS organizations, international ones, which have been there for a while, and every SEDS national organization, based on environment around it, based on people, funding, have different way of working towards a common goal of space exploration. But we would like to share all this, the way we are doing in USA, in the interest of seeing how it can benefit it to international community. So myself and Gautham been involved a lot this year, more than any time before, reaching out to various countries, and you slowly, SEDS Earth will see a lot of new countries, new involvement, and it's a lot of fun to talk to students from various countries, and learning how they are doing projects, how they are getting funding, how they are navigating through their university system, through reaching out to national organization. We learn some countries have very stringent requirement just on the university side to even launch a club. Some countries have direct involvement in their local space program. So these are various aspects of international SEDS community, and we were able to help out start SEDS Australia, SEDS Brazil, SEDS Turkey, and different, and in SEDS in different country in Africa. SEDS Japan got started, and we're trying to push as many places as possible. And our peers from SEDS India, SEDS Canada, and SEDS UK have been helping out through all these activities, and they are sharing how they are doing various projects. So that's one of our big push recently. And like I brought up earlier, fundraising has been big, and a couple of team members have been very actively focused on that, which definitely reflected back to how much funds we are getting in the past few years. And one of the biggest opportunities for us is through Space Vision, reaching out directly to industry leaders. And we have invested that into various scholarships this year. And I do know this might be a lot for any chapter or any different countries, but as we've been getting more resources, more funding, we are trying to invest in many of activities and opportunities that we were not able to entertain before. Such as one of the biggest is like we started awarding scholarships to come to Space Vision, although it's limited right now, but we want to help out as much as possible. And we have been giving grants to new chapters, as well as if they have specific proposal for their projects, seminars, we are trying to help them as much as possible. Um, one of one of the biggest ways space vision is changing is having more industry people involved and more alumni involved, and we have seen from industry always they were asking like, hey, how can we need people from this background, control systems or say structures, how can I specifically reach out to universities and or students directly? So we were able to directly provide them with a list of students. We earlier started something called resume box, where SEDS members just drop their resumes, and we were able to share that with directly hiring folks at these universities, and it saves their time. It brings opportunities directly to students with specific skill sets. So this is one of the activities I think would be very crucial at SEDS Earth and different participating nations. And one of the biggest things I would ask is as early as possible and as much as possible, if you could reach out to your local industry personals and local space organization, get them on your advisory council. That changes your organization completely. That makes a strong connection between student organization and an industry, because eventually your dream is to work on actual launch vehicles, satellites. And if you have people who are actively working on them, advising your organization, you can't ask for anything better. So that's one of the biggest advice from SEDS USA we would like to give. And trying to think.
Anand, we have a few questions for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was trying to see if I have anything that I want to say that I missed. I think that's mostly it from my side. But
All
sure,
right.
I like the format of getting questions and answering more than just me blabbering all the time.
Yes, the people have questioned you on the live chat box in the YouTube video. Can you read it?
Give me 1 second.
Questioned you on the live chat box in the YouTube video. Can you read it?
Yeah. Yep. I just saw seeing this.
Questioned you on the live chat box in the YouTube video. Can you read it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I can. Can you still hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Awesome. Um, so yeah, I'm reading the question. Give me a second. Yeah, the first question I see is, can you tell us about functioning of SEDS USA board and staff structure? How is smooth and efficient functioning maintained across various colleges throughout the nation? Let me get through that first, and I see another question from Narendra. Um, Currently, like I mentioned earlier, SEDS board members are who are active students, um, and there are specific board positions starting from chair, vice chair, council of chapters, treasurers, and member at large. Um, so this is mainly, since SEDS in all is a student organization. Um, so these are just strictly open only to students, and every year we give students are getting opportunities rising through their local chapters, showing what they've done locally, and they participate in elections and come represent SEDS USA or join there. And staff structure is more flexible. It's created based on um, our, I would say, experimental projects, and some of those projects have stayed because of their success. So, and we we saw, say for example, business plan competition, and it's definitely good idea to have student lead it, but it's even better if someone who has experience in evaluating and organizing business plan competitions, um, that's even more beneficial. So the way we saw that, we saw a couple of other projects who we thought would be better if people with experience and people who are currently in industry help that, or even students who are already involved can be part of staff. So we created the staff positions where um, industry alumni, or SEDS alumni, sorry, people from industry and even students can join in, and they run those projects independently along with involvement with the board. And this whole structure is managed by a connection called executive director, who's overseeing all this and all the projects. And also we have a project manager who's overseeing different projects at SEDS USA. So anytime there is um, help needed from staff member, they reach out to board, and they participate in COC if they need help from chapters, excuse me, or they participate in board meetings. Sometimes they directly reach out to our advisors. Um, so that's how this is working, and it's working quite well so far. Um, that answers the first question, and the second one is, how do you think being in SETS can help you in building a career in astrophysics? What are the future scope and opportunities for an electronic undergraduate student to pursue career in astrophysics? I'm assuming this is coming from background of either electronics or electronics and communication. Um, I would say there are, so SEDS in in general isn't only pushing for certain areas. It's an umbrella organization who wants to see um, every every areas in sciences and engineering um, are heavily focused and are given equal opportunity. And this I tell to a lot of students. Joining SEDS it's one of the biggest assets. Is you build connections, you build you get connected to your peers who are in the same field, who are interested in similar topics, working on similar projects. And I would see that's a main that's the biggest way of getting help, by getting involved in SEDS. Yes, you can reach out directly to people who are involved in astrophysics, but imagine you are at a conference like Space Vision, and you get to learn, meet this astrophysics physicist who studied something completely different in his undergrad or even grad school. I'm trying to remember the director for exoplanet program at NASA, JPL, Nick Shigler. Yeah, he was in finance background. If I'm might be misinterpreting this, but he wasn't directly involved in biology or satellites in his undergrad. But later in his career, he joined via master's and his doctorate. He specialized more on biology and exoplanet studies, and then that built him a career path. So that's where you see, like, that wasn't an example to give how he was involved in SEDS or not. It's just a general example that you get connected to your peers. You get connected to you get to know about projects in this community, and then with your background you start getting more involved on the science aspect, and that would be a way to go. Hope that answers the question. I derailed a little bit. Any other questions, Jay?
Can you tell us about SpaceTalks and what do we want to achieve and how do we plan to achieve in the future with regards to SpaceTalks?
Yeah. So SpaceTalks, the whole purpose of SpaceTalks when we started in USA was trying to get students involved post Space Vision or nationally. So going backtrack a bit, in US, chapters meet on Council of Chapters meeting every month. And it's only chapter reps are meeting, and everyone else is not directly involved with every other chapter. So that's one aspect. And other thing, we wanted to see how we can still get connected to industry people who have been doing amazing things in space. How can we have them share their story, or share what they are working on, not having to wait until Space Vision. So that's why we were looking for some light format where you don't have too much constraint on speaker, such as presenting or a lot of preparation. So we came up with, we wanted to do an online format where speakers can speak and students can also participate. So that's how SpaceTalks was born. So at the moment, SpaceTalk it's structured in a way where we are giving 1 hour, any slot between 30 minutes to 1 hour, where we let speaker talk about a topic or their experience in space. And later we open that to online forums via YouTube, Facebook, and various sources, Twitter. And on top of that, we allow we choose a platform such as Google Hangout, Zoom, where few people can actually actively participate. Of course, we want to have as many students directly involved in it, but there are limitations of online platform. So this was chapters sometimes log in, students log in, they get to ask questions directly to speaker, uh, and we advertise this in 2-3 weeks in advance. And there is also a process of selecting speakers, um, uh, and we, we have reached. We have been fortunate to have us join Planet Lab CEO Will Marshall in one of the space talks. Will Pomeranz, who is Vice President of Special Projects, and Andy Weir, if you know, is an author of Martian. And these are only few names, and a lot of other speakers have joined. And it's amazing, like students can directly ask questions to them rather than have to wait for a bigger conference platform. And speakers can just join in through their home, or wherever they are. Like there's no like bigger formality asked from SEDS USA. So it's all formatted to have them directly involved with each other. The current status is we are very much looking forward to launch this internationally, and I think it's starting with the smaller formats such as this. Of course, I'm not that experienced to be a speaker on a space talk, but we want to have astronauts. We want to have um, professors who are leading um, some of the current space projects. We want to have technical leads, CEOs from new space or even old space programs, and that would be a phenomenal opportunity for students to directly hear from them. That's the whole goal of SpaceTalks.
That is awesome. We look forward to have more space talks in the future. And is there any final message that you would like to give the viewers?
Sorry.
Is there a final message that you would like to give viewers? The a majority of us are young students who are in
Um,
our undergraduate level.
yeah, I would suggest getting involved as early as you can, and pushing for projects that you like, and never get back down from um, never get back down from uh, blockages such as oh, where can I get funding from? How do I build my team? This is all everyone has to learn, and there is no book of this for success. So more you get involved, the more you fail, the newer ways you will learn, and that that's it. And then there are various examples how students started on their own on these projects, and um, they've been successful creating organization like SEDS, creating various competitions, raising ton of funds that you can't even imagine. So keep pushing, and one day you will launch. One day you will be in space. That's the dream.
That's
And that,
inspiring, Anand. And we have one more question from Narendra. I heard he is saying that I heard that says USA has done a few model rocket tests. As the future belongs to reusability and more efficient way of propulsion, what are the steps you would take in the direction? So basically, he wants to know about the model rocketry projects happening in SETS USA.
yeah. So I think as much as all of this project's initiatives goal, and I just want to give a little bit more wide background, not specific to mod rocketry. We create these competitions and programs in the interest like to bridge the gap between what industry is doing and bringing as many technologies by creating these problem statements and launching these challenges. but also we want to make sure it's realistic to for students in terms of like they can do it with the funding they are available. They can do it with the lab facilities they are available to them, and with the guidance mentoring. So at least at this point, we see um, them launching more traditional rockets and focusing more on payload releases, activation, gathering more data on that side. But certainly in future, there would be push to include reusability on student launches, but it might be too early. But it's certainly a fascinating goal for us would be a couple of examples where this is still happening in smaller sections. I would say was 3D printed rocket motors. SEDS, UC, University of California, San Diego SEDS actually 4 years ago, I believe, started doing their own rocket motors, and it's purely 3D printed. So, and they are reusing those motors. So that's one of the ways I would call like reusability has already been in place, and almost most of times this rockets get reusable. But I do know your question is more towards intended in asking how SpaceX is doing, like you're landing, just refueling and launching again. I think that model is still going to take time to come on a student side. All right, any more questions?
I think that's it. We have got no more questions.
Jay, thanks a lot. I would like to thank SEDS India for creating this amazing opportunity where they are inviting various SEDS from different countries and encouraging them to share their projects. I've seen previous last couple of days various various talks have been presented, and I hope this definitely benefits for wider community at SEDS Earth. And thanks for giving this opportunity. And I know it's kind of short notice, but first week of November is Space Vision, organized by SEDS USA. It's one of the biggest student space conferences. There are students from Canada also are joining. So if it's possible, or if you happen to be in USA, or if you can share with your friends, please join. And we would be following up with much wider launch of SpaceTalks and competitions for SEDS Earth soon. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anand, for giving your insights, and we look forward to having more space talks.
Thanks.
To our fellow viewers, you can follow us and know more about us on seds.org, seds.org. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Have a great space week ahead.